The film begins at a coal mine. There are a lot of people working inside. After a while, there is a blast in the mine, injuring numerous workers. A man called Oliver works there as well, and when he heard the blast, he dashes off to assist his companions. Oliver notices that many of his buddies have been harmed. Oliver converses with a friend named Ted. He is hurt and then dies. After some time, the ambulance arrived to transport the bodies of all the deceased workers. Meanwhile, they kidnap Ted's body as well. That time, Mrs. Bolton, Ted's wife, was also present. She was depressed and crying since she had recently lost her husband. On the other side, we encounter a lovely young lady named Chloe at a party. She has arrived with her sister to this party. After a while, she notices Clifford Chatterley, an extremely gorgeous and wealthy man. They stare at each other at first, and then they start conversing. They appear to have developed feelings for one another. After that, they begin dancing, and their love builds over time, leading to their marriage. After spending their first night together, they become intimate and spend some alone time together the next morning. Chatterley left for the war since he was an army soldier. When Chatterley was fighting with the enemy one day during the war, a large explosion occurred. As a result, he fell from a great height. When he opens his eyes, he sees dead bodies all around him. The other soldier lifts him up and begins treating him. After a few days, we see Chloe, who is waiting for Chatterley to return from war with her entire family. When she sees Chatterley, however, she was astounded to discover that beneath his back, his entire body is paralyzed, and he is confined to a wheelchair. She is unfortunate, but she still chats to Chatterley in a pleasant manner and assures him that everything will be okay shortly. She then goes into another room and sobs. She will never be happy again because she knows her life is over. The maid notices Chloe crying as she exits the room. That is why she assures Chloe that everything will be okay soon. At that time, Chloe heard the sound of a gun being loaded. She rushes over to Chatterley, who is attempting suicide with a gun. Chloe intervenes. They both tumble to the floor while attempting to stop him. When Chloe's maid enters the room, she tells her to leave them alone. Chloe then tries to console him by telling him that she will love him the same way she did before. Chatterley responds that she will no longer love him in the same manner. She feels bad and regrets being with him whenever she sees him. Meanwhile, Chloe convinces him that she will never stop loving him. The opposite hand we notice Oliver. He joined the army and is now at war. He writes a letter to his lover there. Oliver states that he adores her and has never loved anyone more. The shelling suddenly ceases while he is composing the letter, and they are informed that the conflict has ended. That is why Oliver returns to his hometown. When Oliver visits his lover, he discovers she is married to another man, and she will soon be a mother. Oliver is brokenhearted and flees the city. After a few days, Oliver goes to Chatterley's residence to look for work. When Chatterley approached him, he discovers that Oliver is also in the army and that they both serve in the same regiment. That's why Chatterley offers him the position of home guard, and he can start working tomorrow. Oliver begins his new work at Chatterley's house the next morning. Simultaneously, Chatterley requested that an automobile travel around his house without using his legs, and that he drive the car with only his hands. He's overjoyed, so he pulls Chloe from their cubicle. Chloe is riding a horse as Chatterley drives his automobile. At that point, Chatterley introduces Oliver to Chloe and informs her that he, too, is in the army, and he'll be the house guard from now on. Oliver appeals to Chloe. They returned home after that. The following day, Chatterley had to take a bath, like he did every day, and Chloe was preoccupied at the time. We come across Miss Bolton. She is their maid. She understands how hard Chloe has worked all day, so she informs her that she would bathe Chatterley. They start conversing after a while of bathing Chatterley, and their discussion is strange. When Chloe overhears the exchange, she is unhappy, and after a while, she informs Chatterley that she dislikes the way he talks to Mrs. Bolton, and she is attempting to approach him. Meanwhile, Chatterley responds that they have nothing in common. She is a servant who helps him feel at ease by bathing him. He likes it when Chatterley leaves for a meeting after saying that. Chloe is irritated by Chatterley's behavior and goes to meet Oliver to hand over the duplicate key to the residence. He does, however, speak to her in an impolite manner. He tells her she should not have come here for such a little matter. Chloe becomes enraged and returns home. At that point, Oliver realizes he should not have spoken to her in that manner, so he writes a letter to Chloe and apologizes. When Chloe reads the letter, she returns to meet Oliver. Oliver is now working without his shirt after some time. Chloe remains silent and begins to observe. When Oliver knows Chloe is observing him, he removes his shirt. Chloe explains why he wrote such a short letter to her at the time. Oliver said that he felt bad, which is why he wrote the letter, and Chloe asked him what if his husband had discovered the letter. And Oliver responds that he was aware that he would not allow her husband to see the letter, because guys are not tolerant of all of these things. When Chloe heard this, she burst out laughing. When she begins leaving after that, it suddenly begins to rain. Chloe becomes thoroughly soaked, and because her house is far away, she enters Oliver's residence. She starts removing her clothes to dry them while Oliver prepares a fire and exits the room when he sees Chloe. Oliver is becoming uneasy, and Chloe notices. Oliver feels cold, so Chloe advises him to get close to the fire and warm himself. Oliver responds that if someone caught him with her, he could lose his job or maybe be killed. Meanwhile, Chloe realizes this and dries her clothes, puts them back on, and leaves Oliver's house. Late at night, he tells Chloe, though, that he can't do anything because his body can't move below his back. Furthermore, Chloe assures him they can try something new, but Chatterley refuses to do so. Regardless, Chatterley knows Chloe has requirements, so he contacts another doctor the next morning. Chatterley instructs the doctor to do whatever it takes to repair his legs. The doctor administers electric shocks to his legs in order to restore strength. Chloe, on the other hand, hears everything in the other room. Chatterley had been receiving electric shocks from the doctor since early in the morning, and he was in a lot of discomfort. He was shouting, so Chloe walked inside and urged them to calm down. She then tells the doctor to leave and look after Chatterley. Chloe later went to see Oliver. He was constructing a poultry house at the time. Chloe examines the small chicks and lifts them up in her hands. She begins to play with them and then tells Oliver that the newborn chicken is so calm in her hands, as if he were in her mother's. While saying that, she recalls her mother and begins to miss her. That is why she begins to cry. Oliver struggles to keep her under control. He first holds her hand before hugging her. Chloe hugs him at that point, but she wants more than just a hug, which is why they go inside Oliver's house. Furthermore, Chloe attempts to get close to and intimate with Oliver, who stops her and advises her they should not do anything improper. Chloe asks him if he's terrified because he doesn't appear to be the kind to be scared. Oliver responds that he is terrified of society. Then Chloe assures him that nothing will happen and begins kissing him. They eventually get intimate. After some time has passed, Chloe maintains her romance with Oliver. She is pleased with him, and Chatterley gradually learns that Chloe is pleased, and he begins to question her. Meanwhile, he realizes he is paralyzed and cannot help Chloe's happiness, so he quits thinking about her. Breakfast was served. Chloe expresses her desire to meet her sister to Chatterley. Chatterley responds that she is available to meet with her sister. The next day, Chloe goes to see her sister, and they begin talking. During the discussion, Chloe's sister discovers her sister's romance. She has Chloe at the time with whom she is having an affair. Chloe then informs her that he is their house security. They then continue to converse for some time. Late at night, Chloe attends a party. There is a man named Duncan at the gathering, who used to be in love with Chloe, which is why he came to see her. Chatterley, meantime, was present at the gathering. He informs Chloe that he is tired and will rest, while Chloe begins to dance with Duncan. Duncan tells her she is lovely and could have anyone as they are dancing. Chatterley, a paraplegic guy, is her choice. Chloe responds that when she married him, he was not disabled. She dances with him for a while, and then Chloe and Chatterley leave. The following day, Chatterley informs Chloe that they require a son to carry on their families and legacy. However, because he is unable to have children, he asked Duncan to the celebration yesterday because he knows Duncan likes her. Chatterley abruptly asks Chloe if she likes Duncan and wants to live with him. Chloe is taken aback when she hears this. She responds that he has gone insane and is brain paralyzed. Chatterley becomes enraged and warns her that she must obey at all costs. He wants a family and children, but many mock him and claim he can't have them. That is why, if she so desires, she can have a relationship with Duncan and have a kid with him. Chloe travels to meet Oliver after hearing about Chatterley. She immediately becomes intimate with him, and Oliver tells her that they won't be able to conceal their relationship for long, and that people will find out about them after a while. Chloe responds that she is not afraid of anyone. Furthermore, Oliver reminds her that others must have noticed her arriving to his house because she is Chatterley's wife and everyone knows who she is. Meanwhile, Chloe begs him to stop worrying about those things and that what they are doing is fine. That is why they attend a festival later in the evening while hanging out at the event. This is life, Chloe informs Oliver. Couples go to festivals, dine, and have a good time. Following that, they begin kissing. A boy is harassing Chloe at the time, and Oliver looks at him for a while. The same boy approaches Chloe when she is playing a hammer game and begins bothering her. At that time, Oliver smacked the child in the feet with a hammer. Everyone begins to yell and run. Oliver grabs Chloe and flees. They both begin to giggle and realize how much they love each other, and that their love is more than just becoming sexual. The following day, when Chloe looks in the mirror, she discovers that she is pregnant and Oliver is the father of her child. She travels to inform Chatterley about her pregnancy. He smiles and wonders who the father of her child is. It doesn't matter, Chloe says. Everyone will recognize him by his given name. After a few days, Chatterley drives Chloe into the woods. Chloe asks him where they are heading at the time. Chatterley responds that they will meet Oliver. He has several chickens whose voices he wants to hear. In the meantime, Chloe warns him not to go there. Chatterley ignores her and continues driving his automobile since he is going to upset the hens. Chloe's story ends there. That time, Oliver approaches Chloe and begins kissing her. Chatterley abruptly contacts Chloe and informs Oliver that she must leave. When she notices his vehicle is trapped in the mud, Chloe promises Chatterley she'll bring some assistance, and Oliver arrives at the same time. Chatterley tells Chloe that she needs to go outside because she is pregnant. In the meantime, Oliver pushes Chatterley's automobile out of the muck. That was the first time he learned Chloe was pregnant, and it's because Chloe didn't notify him about her pregnancy that he becomes depressed. Oliver begins to suspect that Chloe manipulated him to obtain a child. When Oliver pushes Chatterley's automobile out of the muck, he emerges from it and begins driving away. To the same moment, Chloe arrives at Oliver's residence. Oliver, on the other hand, was enraged. He informs her that she feigned to love him since she knew Chatterley couldn't have a kid with her, and that all of her love was a lie. She has taken advantage of him. Then Chloe responds, stating that she is not lying to him. He means more to her than her child. Oliver informs her that if he was important to her, she could have told him about her pregnancy. He goes on to argue that ladies always favor wealthy guys, and that those like him constantly suffer. He then tells her she must leave. Chloe begins to cry and returns home after a time. Miss Bolton arrives at Oliver's house, begins looking, and eventually discovers a diary in which Oliver has written so many poetry for Chloe. As a result, Mrs. Bolton knows who the father of Chloe's child is. Mrs. Bolton then writes a letter to Chatterley in which she tells him everything about Chloe and Oliver. Chatterley initially does not believe her, and when she shows him the diary, all the evidence is there. Chatterley becomes enraged and phones Chloe. He tells Chloe that she made a huge mistake. She had an affair with a servant and is now pregnant by him. Chloe begins to cry and asks Chatterley how he knew. He claims Mrs. Bolton informed him. Chloe inquired as to how Mrs. Bolton knew. She also tells Chloe that she read Oliver's diary and her poetry about her and her pregnancy. That's how she finds out. Mrs. Bolton also informs Chloe that she has used a poor man and that her entire family uses poor people. Just like Chatterley's husband worked for a coal mine and died one day. Chloe responds that she did not employ Oliver. She adores him and wishes to spend the rest of her life with him. Mrs. Bolton recognizes at that point that Chloe adores Oliver. That is why she tells her to go and stop Oliver. Because he is leaving town, Chloe then starts running and meets Oliver. She professes her affection for him, and Oliver informs her that he can't live without her, so they decide to marry and welcome the child into the world. That's why Chloe goes to Chatterley and asks for a divorce. However, he refuses to divorce her because he will be left with no one to carry on his heritage. Chatterley informs her that he will not divorce her. At that moment, Oliver appears, becomes enraged, and informs Chatterley that he must divorce Chloe because she is content, and if he has ever loved her, he must make a sacrifice for her. They then begin to leave. Chatterley recognizes at that point that he is wronging Chloe. He appears via window and informs Chloe that he will divorce her the next day. Chloe and Oliver are overjoyed and leave. After some time, Chloe and Oliver promise to live together indefinitely. The film comes to a close here.